Hello children, how are you all? I hope you all are hale and hearty, you all are fit and fine. My name is Tanya Sharma and I welcome you all to the PW Gulf in the Succeed Ultimate Recap batch. Let's do the very important and very lengthy chapter in very simplistic form. The name of the chapter is Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. It's the chapter of history and very important. Let us understand it in very simplistic form and let's not waste our time. Let's get started. Alright, so today we are going to understand the chapter in a very simplistic form and in a very easy format. Okay, and yes, these are mind maps, so definitely it will help you in the understanding of the chapter. It will help you in your revision at your last moment of your before exams. Let's start. So, when we talk about socialism in Europe, it started with the French Revolution. So, French Revolution opened up the possibility of creating a dramatic change in society. So, the term and the entire, we give the entire appreciation to French Revolution. Because of the French Revolution, because revolution happened in France, a lot of areas and a lot of, in the entire society, there was a possibility of creating a change, a revolution in the entire society. There were groups, ideas, okay, so there were a lot of groups, there were a lot of ideas that looked to change society. What was the ultimate goal? They wanted to change society. They wanted to, undergo all they want to just leave behind all the traditional, things and ideas and wanted to bring a change in the entire society. That is how they were very much, attracted by the ideas of French Revolution according to their thoughts and visions. So, liberals, radicals and conservatives are three main groups and their main ideas. So, liberals, radicals and conservatives, these were the three types of groups who actually constituted the entire European society or the society of entire Europe, whereby radicals wanted, a lot of change. They wanted to bring democracy. Similarly, on the other hand, liberals wanted to bring a lot of change. They wanted to, break free all the monarchical rules. On the other hand, conservatives wanted a change, but they wanted change very gradual. They wanted to retain all the traditional things as well, traditional ideas as well. Let's see what happens next. So, these were the three areas, these were three groups in which their ideas were divided. First we'll talk about conservatives. So conservatives they opposed liberals and radicals. Why? Because they wanted the change, but the change should be very slow. They wanted the change, but the change should be very gradual. The change should be very slow. Change should be very slow. So hereby asserted that past must be respected. They said that whatever happened in traditional, what was our tradition, what was our culture, what were our ideas, that should be remained intact. This is what conservatives wanted. Then we talk about liberals. Liberals say that by the name liberals means free, to get free, freedom, right? So, tolerance of all religion. They said that yes, every religion can be constituted in one society. There can be more than one religion in the society. Apart from that, they wanted to oppose the uncontrolled powers of the king. They said that yes, the powers can be there. They said it's nothing bad in the monarchical power, but uncontrolled power, unlimited power should be, it should be taken care of. Supported the rights of individuals, like every right matter, every individual's rights matter. Then they were talking about representative elected parliament, which kind of, their ideas were kind of were going towards democracy as a system of government. Then did not support universal adult franchise, right of every, including women. So yes, which means that universal adult franchise they did not want, but yes, they wanted rights for everyone. Then supported only private property. They only supported people who had private property. Then were radicals. Radicals wanted a government based on majority. Okay, they wanted a government which is based on majority, which means kind of again democratic country, democratic rule they wanted. Then oppose the privileges given to landlords. They wanted to curb all the privileges which were given to landlords and wealthy factory owners. They wanted that wealthy factory owners and a lot of rich people are getting a lot of advantages. So all those advantages should get curbed. Then many of them also supported women's suffrage movement, whereby a lot of women were getting empowered. Women were getting out of their niche, out of their comfort zone. Supported private property but disliked concentration of property in the hands of few, which means that not only one people, this property should be divided amongst equally. There should be equal property share. It's not that only some of the people are, enjoying this kind of right. Everyone should enjoy. So because of this unequal, property share, what happens? A lot of gap between rich and poor is created. So that gap they wanted to, just curb it down. Then we talk about this particular flow chart, which is actually telling us about the situation of Europe. What was the situation of Europe back then? So problems of industrial revolution, the industries were rising. So there were problems, industries were rising at their peak, and when industries were rising at their peak, what happened? A lot of problems were also rising. What were these problems all about? The problems are all about the sanitation, basic sanitation facilities, housing facilities, poor wages, people were not getting equal wages, then long working hours, apart from that unemployment. So because of the industrial revolution, it was rising, a lot of problems are also rising. A lot of people were not happy. So this was a time whereby socialism came into being. Why? Because people were not treated equally, right? So this was a time where socialist ideas came into being, which means that a lot of people, actually they were very sad, they were not happy with the wages and everything, and they believed that yes, with the coming of socialism and the ideas of socialism actually attracted them. Now let us see what are the ideas of socialism. Alright, let us see one by one. Alright, so socialists were again, now who are socialists? Socialists are the people who believe in socialism. Socialists are the people who believe in socialism. Socialists were against private property. They did not wanted private property, but had differing ideas on how a society without property could operate. Some of the vision of socialists were as follows. So a lot of socialists, a lot of thinkers, a lot of people who had this idea of socialism, they believed that private property should not be there. It should be divided equally among a lot of people in the society. So this is what was attracted by a lot of people. Yes, it should be divided amongst equally. There should be not unequal distribution of the share of property. This is how it worked. So a lot of people like Robert Owen, Louis Blanc, Karl Marx, and we have Friedrich Engels, they believe the same. So Robert Owen sought to build a cooperative community. They said that a community should be built with a cooperative, with a lot of people. So when a lot of people are owning something, which means that it is dividing amongst them equally, right? Then Louis Blanc wanted the government to encourage cooperatives and replace capitalist enterprises. Now what do we mean by capitalist? Capitalist is the owner. A capitalist means the person is owning the entire property, and the profit is also going within this person. So they just wanted to get rid of the capitalists and things will be divided equally. So this was said by Louis Blanc. Then we had Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. They totally opposed capitalism. Okay, they argued that industrial society was capitalist. They said the entire industrial society is capitalist. Why? That is the reason why people are not happy. The capitalists owned the capital invested in the factories. As I told you, the capital is the owner, and this person is owing each and everything, and he is not distributing it equally among the people who are working, the workers. And the profit capitalist was produced by workers. Thus, capitalists exploit the workers. They say that there are two classes. You will be learning this entire concept in class 11th or in class 12th in further studies. So there is a concept of the working class and the owning class. So the working class is known as the proletariat and the owning class is known as bourgeoisie, which means that the owning class is the owner of each and everything and is not doing anything but getting all the profit. Who are working are the workers, and they actually have the entire share of each and everything. So this is what socialism wanted to bring, right? And these are the thinkers you should understand, and you should understand their particular viewpoints. Then comes a time whereby Karl Marx also believed that this capitalist system would be triumphed by the workers and socialist society. So whenever there is the entry of this particular thing known as the socialism. So when socialism as an idea will enter, socialism as an idea will enter, so it will get rid of all the capitalist society. All the capitalist and the capitalist society. So would be established, whereas property would be socially controlled, which means that it will be controlled by the people collectively. Okay, people collectively. Now what is the advantage? It will be collectively, it will be collectively owned, which means that there will be no gap between rich and poor. So everyone will be equal. There is no, rich, there is no poor, there is no, we can say, hierarchy. So everyone is on the same page, everyone is on the same line. This is what, socialism actually gives us. Next we have, back to back some of the events happened. We'll understand about the events. First we're talking about autocracy. What does autocracy mean? Autocracy means rule of one, either king or queen or any ruler. So the rule by king with absolute power is known as autocracy. So this actually a lot of people wanted. There was actually if we talk about in Europe, this particular system was actually going on. And then what happened? Bloody Sunday happened. This was an event which is again a very, very, very sad event. A lot of people actually were killed. So over 100 workers. Now actually this particular leader, we are talking about this particular Tsar Nicholas II. So this king was actually having a lot of power, and when this king was absolutely having the entire power, so he's not looking to the other people, he's not looking to his own people, his country, his entire empire and the people. So people actually revolted. So this was the kind of event which actually happened, and this event actually made things actually worse. Let's see what happened. Over 100 workers were killed and 300 were wounded when the procession of the workers near Winter Palace. So a lot of people went to Winter Palace, where exactly it's a palace of a king, was attacked by the police. So, and they were attacked by the police. They went it and they did a procession, they did a march, that they want some kind of decision, they want some kind of things that they really want for themselves and for their country, and the king should do for them, for all these people, but king was not doing anything. So the incident is known as Bloody Sunday. It started a series of events that came to be known as 1905 revolution, whereby this was the starting of a series whereby a lot of change was coming into being. Okay, and what they wanted that we will next we wanted a parliament, and then also what were the demands? They wanted a parliament which was known as Duma. Also they wanted that we really don't want your absolute power. So they were the people demanded Duma, that was a Russian parliament. Okay, let's see next what happened. Now because of the World War, as I told you again, see, World War it happened, and when World War happened, a lot of other places got a lot of, you can say, after effects, ill effects. So when the World War happened, the first World War 1914 to 1918, okay, it was fought between the Central Powers. Who were the Central Powers? Germany, Australia and Turkey, and elite powers France, Britain and Russia. Now what happened? Because of this First World War, a lot of series took place, whereby things were not happening in a right manner, and this led to the February Revolution in 1917 after the Bloody Sunday. There was a huge shortage of food for the workers. Now what was the situation? Any revolution, any fight, any war happens when there are problems with the people. So what were the problems with the people? These were the problems with the people. People were facing a lot of problems. Okay. There was a huge shortage of food in worker quarter. This led to many protests. A lot of protests were happening. Now soldiers also joined the striking workers. Now soldiers are actually the people, they were actually soldiers of the king, but they were also seeing the situation was not getting good, it was getting worse. So soldiers also joined these people, and then what happened? Sensing trouble, Tsar was the king, Tsar Nicholas was the king, abdicated, and a provisional government was formed. Now he was abdicated, which means that he overthrew his throne. He said that, okay, all right, I am not the king anymore, because now people are not liking me, people are not liking a lot of things, okay, because I really wanted to fight, I want a lot of things. He was actually, Tsar Nicholas was actually looking for more territories to expand, but he was not doing anything for the people, for the country. And then the monarch was brought down on February Revolution. So February Revolution, what happened? The monarch was brought down. That is why it is known as February Revolution. A very big change came here, and the government was set up. That is known as provincial government. Now again after February, then we had April Thesis. Now these are the events, important events we are doing. So in April 97, the Bolshevik leader Lamdel Lenin. So when I was talking about the coming up of socialism, so they were coming up of a lot of political parties. Okay, so there was this political party which was led by Lamdel Lenin, known as Bolshevik party. Okay, so he returned to Russia from his exile. He went to exile for some years. He presented 3 demands which are known as Lenin's April Thesis. Okay, April Thesis, or we can say Lenin's April Thesis. Okay, he always wanted to protect the workers. He always wanted to do good for the entire Europe. He always wanted to do, a lot of good things, and everyone should be happy. And yes, he was also attracted by the idea of socialism. So the First World War must be brought to close. He said that the war should be brought to an end. Now it's fine. Entire Europe is facing a lot of things, so it should brought to an end. Second, land must be transferred to peasants, because again here everyone believed that the workers are the people who are actually working. Okay, the workers are the people who are actually working, and this is the major and the underlying force of the socialism. Then banks must be nationalized. When banks are nationalized, which means that economy is flowing, right? The banks are becoming nationalized. So this is again a point whereby this is known as April Thesis, which was done by Lamdel Lenin, and he was from the party of Bolshevik, which was for the workers' party, and attracted by the idea of socialism. Then again there was a new kind of, we can say, October. So this is again the same year, and different months revolution happened. So let's see what happened in the Revolution of October. In the Revolution of October, after Lenin's demand, what happened? The conflict between provisional government, okay, the government which was set up after Nicholas, and Bolsheviks party, okay, the Lamdel Lenin, okay, it grew. So the conflict between, on the other hand, here we had provincial government, okay, here we had provincial government, provisional government, sorry. Provisional government versus, we can say, it was the Bolshevik party, or this was Lamdel Lenin. Okay, so they had conflict amongst themselves. Lenin emphasized on uprising of against the government. He said, and he said to his party members as well, that it's a time, this is a time whereby we should, we should fight against the government. And all the people got ready. The uprising began on 24th October. By the nightfall, the city was under Bolsheviks' control. Then who won? Obviously, it was won by Bolshevik. Bolshevik won. Okay, and had surrendered, and the ministers had surrendered. Uprising took place in other cities as well. This revolution is known as October Revolution. So in October Revolution, basically there was difference and a lot of conflicts between the provisional government and Bolsheviks party, that is, and who was the leader? Lamdel Lenin. They actually fought, and a lot of people were in favor of Lamdel Lenin. So he kind of win. This is known as October Revolution. Now these are the most important things after Lamdel came, and he did a lot of changes. Let us understand this thing with a very beautiful flowchart. So what happened after the revolution of 1917? Again, if we talk about here, Lamdel Lenin wanted these kind of ideas. So first was private property was eradicated. This was the underlying thing that socialism meant, and the idea of socialism meant that people will not own the property. It should be divided amongst equally. So that is why private property was kind of, we can say, eradicated. Most industries and banks were nationalized. Now banks, industry, they were nationalized. It was of the entire nation. No one person is owning it. Okay. No privatization, nationalization. Then land was declared social property, and a lot of land of nobility. So a lot of land of nobility, church, king people, it was confiscated and was given to the peasants. Third point, censorship in all aspects was imposed. Now censorship was imposed, whereby this was again a bad thing, a negative aspect, whereby because censorship was imposed, which means that only what Lamdel wanted to, spread will spread. It's not like people will have their own view. Fourth point was ban on use of old titles of aristocracy. So aristocracy will not use titles, land titles, and they will not use titles, and they will be banned now onwards. Everything is equal. Then Russia became one party state, and the Russian Communist Party was the only party. So now here Russia enters. So Russia, this is the important point, hereby because of the changes, Russia became one party. Okay, Russia became one party, and this was known as the Russian Communist Party, was the only party. Okay, next is Russia signed peace pact with Germany. Russia also signed a peace treaty, we can also say peace pact with Germany. And the last point, whereby beginning of civil war in Russia. In Russia, a lot of problem rose again. The civilians against civil war rose in Russia. These were the points, 6 points, whereby we talk about the changes of the October in 1917 after the October Revolution. So when we talk about the civil war, again it was amongst the people. Let us see. So after the revolution, entire Russia was divided into 3 groups. After this revolution, after this October Revolution, the people in Russia were divided into 3 groups. Now they were divided with the colors. So the Bolsheviks, the Bolshevik party was said to be the red party. The Bolshevik party was said to be the reds. So basically these people who supported them were known as the reds. Okay, the Socialist Revolutionist Party, who were again belonging to Socialist Revolutionaries, they were revolutionaries, they wanted to have a different change, they were known by the Greens. Okay, and we have the Tsarists, which people, the conservatives who want to bring the monarch back, who are conservatives, known as Tsarists, with the name of the king, and this were known as, these people were known as whites. So civil war among these groups started in Russia. The Greens, whites were supported by France. So these, the Greens and white, they were supported by France. Okay, France supported them. Then USA, Britain and Japan. Looting, banditry and famine came common during the civil war, and a lot of other ill effects also were seen in the coming up of the civil war. Then what happened? Then obviously the Bolsheviks won. Again the Bolsheviks won. Now there was a program which was known as collectivization, but after, as I told you, hereby when the civil war, in this case Bolshevik won, Bolshevik again had a lot of different aspect. Bolshevik, as in Lenin, did a lot of great things, but he did a lot of bad things as well, like censorship, and then people were not happy with his rule. Okay, then after he died, okay, after 1 year, and then what happened? Stalin came, and this Stalin was again a leader, and this particular Stalin started this thing of known as collectivization in Russia, which whereby he wanted everything to be collectivized. Like workers are working, they should share each and everything with everyone. So Stalin, this was again a person, he started collectivization program in Russia. Under this, the peasants were forced to cultivate. Okay, it's not like they're happy in cultivating. Okay, so in under this, the peasants were, okay, so this was kind of exploitation of the socialism as well. So peasants were forced to cultivate, and then when they were forced to cultivate farms known as kolkhozs, the bulk of land and implements were transferred to the ownership of the collective farm. So again, who are the owners of the collective farm? Everything went to those. So it was a mixture of capitalists and somewhat socialists. So again, this was confusing for a lot of people. Peasants work on their lands and Kohler's profit was shared. So this was everything known as collectivization. Everyone should do this thing. This was made mandatory. So it's okay. We can see that it's completely fine, sharing of the produce, but nobody can force you to do it. A lot of people were forced to do all these things. Then what happened? So how was the Russian society socialized? Now this is how the last part we are talking about after Stalin as well, because Stalin again had very ill effects on the entire society. People did not like Stalin as well, because he started forcing people, he started people, putting in concentration camps, he started people, exploiting people who were not listening to him. So again, a lot of things were taken by we can say Stalin as well. So overall, if we talk about the entire chapter, we understand this chapter. Why? What is the main idea behind this chapter? Like, a lot of things were, again, people were attracted by the socialist idea. Now this is the last point, whereby how was the Russian society socialized, how they were, socialism came into being. So first point, nationalization of banks happened totally, collective farming started happening, okay, central planning, beginning of the 5-year plans happened. So some of the good things were given by Stalin, some of the good things were given by Lenin. So this is how things went in a good direction and Russia became socialist. So availability of cheap and public health. Okay, we'll start with this. Okay. So an extended schooling system developed, arrangements were made, factory workers and peasants to enter universities, whereby a lot of things also spread. People were also happy doing all these things. Then model living quarters for the workers, their living standards were also raised. Then creches were established in factories so that people can take care of their babies, and then availability of cheap health was also established. With this, again, we can surely say that the rise of socialism started, and because of this, the entire chapter is talking about how socialism spread, whether we had a lot of revolutions, whether we have a lot of wars, but in Russia a lot of we can say people were happy because socialism ideas and socialistic thing were spreading, and it started with the French Revolution. I hope this quick mind map, or we can say quick recap of all the entire concepts were really clear to you. Thank you children so much. If you understood, you can write in the comment section. If you really want more revision on these topics of your class 9, do write in the comment section. All right, bye bye children, see you in the next lecture.